Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Pheqes, and I am here with another edition of the ULoL Weekly. A lot going on lately. We're actually just going to jump right into it. Go into a week review of week number 2. This is the third week that we've had the ULoL review, so again, just going to get right into this one. And kind of started a hint late, but we'll try to make up for that in the end. I actually have 2 guests on today, both from University of Kansas. We'll get to them in just a moment. But first, like I said, let's get over to the episode 2 recap. Midwest Campus Clash, that is still going on. The eligible schools are Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. And registration is still going on through the 22nd, so you still have a few more days to register for that. Teams will be competing for a $25,000 scholarship prize pool. And yeah, get over there. It's almost done, almost ready to go, and those are the schools that will be eligible, so check them out. If you know anybody that go to those schools, give them a heads up. It's a nice way to compete. And it's outside of the ULoL Campus Series. It's hosted by CSL and Columbia College. So ULoL Campus Series teams can compete for that tournament, but they are responsible for their own scheduling issues and things of the sort. Also touched on the Big Ten last week, the fierce rivalry between Ohio State University and Michigan. Go check that out. That's actually, I unfortunately can't get too in depth in these shows because it's only 30 minutes. But Ohio State rivalry between Michigan, or with Michigan I should say, actually warrants a lot more than the time that I gave it. Definitely worth a check out. But yeah, that is actually going to be broadcasted a week from tomorrow, so that'll be really exciting. I also talked about more well-known teams going into the playoffs, and that's actually going to be a theme going into this episode where we talk about sleeper teams. But last week, I did talk about the more well-known teams. Robert Morris University, Maryville, University of British Columbia, Toronto. Teams like them, they're all expected to go into playoffs, and I mean, they all made it. We'll go to a playoffs graphic later on in the broadcast, which now that I think about it, I actually forgot to put into my assets, so it'll take me one moment to do that after, or once I get there. But don't worry, it won't take any time at all. I have it all set up, and no problem. But yeah, again, this week I did want to talk about some of those lesser known teams, the teams you probably maybe look over. Because I mean they're really strong teams still. There's well, using an example of University of Kansas, they have 4 challenges on their team. They're really nothing to sleep on right now. They can be just as much of a contender as any other team, and we're gonna get into other teams too. And I mentioned University of Kansas because my guests are from there, of course. But let's move on to the playoffs. So they're actually looking really exciting right now. We just finished the tiebreakers from last night. Or actually, I think we're still finishing the tiebreakers. We still have some going on to figure out who's actually going to be going to the playoffs. And of course, the top 2 teams of each division will be going. And tiebreakers still going on, so we still have to determine who's going to be second place, who's going to be first place in a couple of them, which are even more exciting. But yeah, we'll find that out after tonight. Let me go ahead and pull up that graphic real quick because there's actually a lot to talk about with that. And of course, if you follow us on Twitter, let me expand that. If you follow us on Twitter, I did not expand like I wanted it to. There we go. Don't worry, this will be a lot prettier in just a moment. Maybe not. Alright, I'm just going to leave it like that for right now because I can't get it in any other way here. Or I could just go ahead and add a scene and do it that way. One moment. So yeah, normally I have all this ready. I actually, like I said, this is still kind of new for everything being brought up, so it's not set to the ratio that I wanted it to. But yeah, we can see here that the who's after week 4, who's actually going to go to the playoffs. The North, they look more like a bloodbath right now. You have Columbia College of Missouri, who are extremely strong right now. University of Kansas, of course, I have mentioned that they are a sleeper team, but they're a very powerful sleeper team. And of course, Maryville University and Robert Morris University of Illinois, they're expected to go far, but they're in the North Division, so they have to meet each other sometime. Now, in the south side, you do have quite a bit of, it's mostly dominated by Texas on the south side. Of course, Texas is probably, it is the biggest state in the South Division, the South Conference. It's really, Texas A&M, they're actually previous CSL champions, I should say. Before the ULoL Campus Series was actually a thing, Texas A&M were still dominating the South. That was quite a few years ago, I believe 4 years ago, I think. So some of those players may have graduated by now. But there's still a lot of powerful teams. Texas Tech, they've always been a contender in the South, and of course, any of the teams from Texas have been contenders in the South. They're all very powerful, and they also consist most of the South. So it's mostly going to be a clash of the Texas teams. Now we go over to the East. If the things that are being said about Toronto are true, they are more than likely going to be taking the East Conference or the East Division here. And they have some resistance here. McMaster University, Carnegie Mellon University, and of course Waterloo, McGill. They're powerful, but there's a lot of hype coming out from University of Toronto. So we're going to see what happens in that East Division. I actually expect it to. I expect Toronto to take that one, but they're going to have a little bit of run for their money. Of course, going over to the West. A lot of big teams. The West has always been typical in their esports, eccentric, scene, you want to call it. They always have a lot of big teams. Simon Fraser, always going to be big. Of course, UBC, former ULoL Campus Series champions 2 times, but of course, I've touched on it plenty of times. Not going to do it too much. They have a little bit of a different team this year, but they're still a very powerful team. And of course, California State Polytech University of Pomona. They've always been a pretty solid team as well. It's worth mentioning, though, California Berkeley, they actually just won a big Overwatch tournament moments ago. And that may be worth noting because obviously they pay attention to their esports scene and support it on multiple fronts. So, yeah, League of Legends may be their time this year. We'll see how they fend off in the West. But we're actually going to go back, and now I have to take off this big image here. There we go. And go over to the sleeper teams, and that would be, like I said, one of the themes of this year, this week, I should say. University of Utah, they're actually a pretty big team in the North right now. They they're in the North. But yeah, they are worth mentioning because I've actually watched them play. They are pretty solid right now. And that's, by the way, University of Utah, they are in the West right now. Ryerson University, they're in the East. They're actually pretty good right now as well. University of Pennsylvania, which is not Penn State. We'll get to that in a moment. University of Pennsylvania, they're also pretty good. Everyone making it to the playoffs are obviously good, but there's a lot of teams being overlooked. And Columbia College, actually, they were a team that was previously overlooked. They've been getting a little bit more hype, especially since they are forming the Midwest campus clash with the CSL. So they've been getting a little bit more hype. They do have a nice training facility as well. So watch out for Columbia College in the North Division. And I want to say the East also, outside of Pennsylvania and Ryerson University, I want to say that the East actually have some good sleeper teams, but it's almost, like I said, Toronto's just so powerful. It's going to be hard. It's worth. I wouldn't say that McMaster is a sleeper team. I actually mentioned them last week that they're one of the bigger teams. Carnegie Mellon, they're obviously a bigger team. The only way they would be a sleeper team is if they could beat University of Toronto, at least in my opinion. And of course, this is all my opinion. That's just how these shows work sometimes. But there are a lot of teams to look out for, and these are all the teams I'm talking about, and all the teams that were on the graphic before. They're not all the teams that have actually made it to the playoffs. Like I said, the tiebreakers are still going on. There's actually a little bit of information about that one. Kansas State University actually got a bye in the 3-way tie between Murray State and Notre Dame, and I believe they actually got through. Of course, I did see University of Kansas take on Kansas State University, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not pretty sure, University of Kansas stomped them. So, I mean, it's a tiebreaker. They're going to get there, so that's what matters. Congratulations to them, of course. Of course, the Notre Dame and KSU result isn't actually reported yet, so we'll get back to that one in a moment. But yeah, a lot of sleeper teams actually going into the playoffs right now. And again, hopefully next week we'll have an updated bracket on all the teams going into the playoffs, so we can focus on that a little bit more in depth. one of my coworkers, Matt Howard, he wants to get into bracketology, and that's actually going to be really interesting because we can break down the brackets a little bit more, get some analysts on here, some of the writers who actually look at this every day, a little bit more in depth than even I do, because obviously I cast the games, I research everything that I can, but they actually have to write about it. It's part of their job in CSL, and I would look forward to having them on here. Hopefully we can get them on here next week, and or even the week after, and break down some of these. We still debating on whether or not we want to keep bring something like that on as the brackets go on, so there's a little bit less talking about, because the brackets are huge right now. I only have 30 minutes to dedicate to the show, and that with multiple topics, that means I would have to focus more or less on other topics. So I'm just gonna decide how to do that one. But moving on right now, Big Ten standings. Not too much has changed. Obviously, there's only a couple Big Ten games, or actually I think one Big Ten game going on every week, so there's not too much that's changed. Like I said, a week from tomorrow, Ohio State University will be taking on Michigan in their intense rivalry to determine who the first place seed is in the East Division. And of course, I do want to point out that next week I think I'm going to have somebody from Michigan on the stream. Thing is that so the Big Ten games that are actually broadcasted are recorded, so those games are more than likely already done, or at least going to be done by the time I talk about them, which kind of made me sad, but things happen. But the standings right now, like I said, they haven't really changed. University of Michigan and University of Michigan is actually leading right now in the East Division. Ohio State University dropped down to second. I believe they were tied last week. But University of Michigan is actually pulling up on them right now. I don't know if they've technically played Ohio State University yet. And I actually don't know if the standings on the website, if they update by the games that are played already that aren't streamed, or if they wait for the streams to go and then they update the standings. They haven't gotten clarification on that one. But as of right now, according to the ULoL website, University of Michigan, they are leading the East Division. Over in the West Division, though, we still do have a two-way tie for Purdue University and University of Wisconsin going into the first place. So that's getting pretty exciting. Big Ten, there's actually been a little bit of controversy with them, which I'm going to touch on extraordinarily briefly. It's not just the Big Ten. Obviously, Penn State. You might have seen this, the CSL article on Reddit. But it's not just that, it's also some of the situation going on with the ULoL Campus prize pool. The only reason why I wanted to mention it is because I feel like not doing so would be, it'd just be like ignoring an elephant in the room. Obviously it's happened, it's out there in public, there's been articles published, which I will link also in the chat. But yeah, I'm going to touch on very briefly on some ULoL controversy going on here. So Penn State, they were blocked. They didn't get. Penn State was not able to get a license for putting their team into the Big Ten conference and or the Big Ten tournament, and that is one of the big issues going on right now. In fact, like I said, I will link that in the chat. In addition to that, ULoL Campus Series, there's been some uproar over the prize pool. There's been 2 articles published that I've been aware of from Yahoo Esports along with the Score Esports. Go check them out. Again, going to go ahead and post them because it's worth telling the story. Educate yourself, figure out your opinion on it, because there's 2 sides to both stories. And again, that's up to you guys how you interpret that one. But other than that, I am actually joined here by 2 members of University of Kansas, Julian Alexander and Tiger Pawsu. And I think I have them on the line here. You guys with me? You guys have your mic muted? Anything? No?
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
yeah, there it is.
Issue hearing you.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with the Skype call.
Really?
Yeah, do a quick sound test. Could you just count to 10 or something really fast?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm also gonna check my volume too, so give me one moment.
It just keeps cutting in and out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That also probably is because my call quality is not that great, it looks like. So, I mean, I can hear you guys just fine, so that might be something to... I might have to worry about it since I can hear you guys just fine, but hopefully these overlays are set up properly. And they are, so welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Introduce you guys. I'll introduce you guys. So Julian Alexander, you are the manager of University of Kansas, correct?
Yeah, I'm the manager of the team KU Sports and then the director, like the head of player personnel for the entire club.
Okay. And then Pawsu, Tiger Pawsu, you are a sub player for the ADC. We actually saw you play against Kansas State one of the games, and then you were brought back out. But you're also an analyst. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. What's up?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were gonna say a little bit more.
No,
Okay.
no, it's okay.
All right. So, going into the playoffs, you guys are in a pretty harsh bracket. Like, what do you think about that? Considering you're going against the likes of Columbia College, Robert Morris University, Maryville. Julian, I'll let you answer this one first. The Skype kind of keeps going in and out. I don't know why. It's like one picture gets big, another picture gets small.
Yeah.
That is kind of annoying, especially for my overlays. But we'll work with it as much as possible. I might just remove them, honestly. But Julian, we'll start with you. What do you think of going into your division here into the playoffs?
Well, we have quite a bit of experience actually playing against teams like RMU and CC. We just played at a tournament about 2 weeks ago down in Wichita, which is like an invitational that they put on with Wichita State Esports and RMU. Both CC teams were there. And so our main team and then formerly our second team, they played them a lot. We actually dropped a game. We dropped a series to both, but they were pretty close. They were 2-1s, and the things that our team needs to like score up on and needs to fix, we're in the process of fixing. And I think with the infrastructure we're building here, I honestly think we can come out on top. Because I think in terms of pure raw like mechanical talent, I think we have the best roster in the division.
I mean, that's interesting because again, you guys are a relatively sleeper team, and I say that only because you guys have only been coming up and making a name for yourselves this year. I mean, last year there wasn't too much University of Kansas being shown throughout the division. Like, why do you think that coming in, you're going against like I said, teams like Robert Morris University? Why do you think that you are one of the teams to watch out for, as in you're gonna take the division? Because I mean, they've had an established talent. What makes you guys think that you coming up in the first year of being actually big and recognized, and not to mention, like I said, the 4 challengers on your team, you guys aren't a bad team at all? What makes you think you guys can take Robert Morris University?
You want to go ahead, Pawsu?
Yeah. Okay. So, just from my perspective as a player, I think Julian really is not understating how much raw potential KU has. It's really like a race against time. I think we are very capable of taking down 2-0, very clean, every team in our division except for RMU. I'm most worried about RMU. CC, I feel like we definitely, just from the first game that we played against them, there was a 20k gold lead, there was a ridiculous kill lead, objective lead. It was absolutely amazing to watch, and I feel like we don't have a good draft pick. We don't have the infrastructure that we need, like coaches, analysts. Well, we're getting there. This, again, like you said, this is our first year, so everyone's got to start somewhere. We're just going to try to push as hard as we can with the time we have available, and we'll see if we can get results.
All right.
Yeah, like more.
Oh no, go on.
Yeah, just more onto that. Yeah, speaking in terms of just pure potential and raw talent. I mean, people like our jungler XY and our mid laner Ace. I mean, these guys that have competitive experience even overseas, like semi-professionally, and these are guys that sit at the top of the ladder in North America, especially XY, who almost like himself made it to top 3 in his role for scouting grounds. So I think we have a unique advantage just in terms of pure raw talent. Now, obviously, like pick and ban and just like the coaching infrastructure that other teams like CC and RMU have is superior, but I don't think we're lagging too far behind in terms of what we need to fix. So.
Okay. Now, with that being said, you guys were talking about these various players that are actually even doing well overseas. I understand that there is a slight language barrier. Not everyone is a native English speaker. Is that a factor in any of your practices or anything going in? Well, we'll talk to Pawsu about that one because I know he's actually been on the team, having to play with the team. Is that any sort of a factor at all?
So for in-game communication, it's 100% fine because everyone speaks in Chinese. And it was a slight problem for me because I was a sub, but eventually got used to it. I learned all the terminology. I think the hardest part of the language barrier is finding coaches and analysts because, again, we don't have access to like really, really high quality ones, and we definitely don't have access to high quality ones that are also bilingual. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just more onto that. I don't like in terms of like what we've gone over in VOD review and such, I don't think there's much of a barrier there either, because people like, we have Pawsu, and then we have one of our organizers is also fluent in Chinese. So like when there is translation, like the needed, we have the translators. But also like Chenny, XY, Henry, all of them have a good grasp on English. Yeah. And so like when it comes to VOD review and some of the tournament, like some of the things we need to get across to them, I mean, it's fine. It flows pretty well. Like, I mean, Chenny is a U.S. citizen. His grasp on English is really well, so he acts as like an impromptu translator most of the time. But in terms of them understanding like what we're saying, there's usually not an issue. But further on, as Pawsu was saying, it just comes down the line of we would like coaches that are like fluent in both languages, so there's not even the smallest of barriers.
All right, and you're talking about all the coaches and some sort of infrastructure and things like that. How's the reaction been on the University of Kansas campus? Have you gotten the backup from the actual campus itself, from the college itself, or have you seem like it's just kind of your guys' thing? I mean, it's because this is an issue throughout the entirety of collegiate esports as it starts to grow. As it has been growing, it's been growing. There's been teams that have gotten all they needed to succeed, like Robert Morris University, and Maryville, things like that. What about University of Kansas? What have you guys done, or if there's anything lacking or something that you are really appreciative of?
So I think we're still obviously far behind other schools. Like we're nowhere near close to our athletic department offering scholarships or anything like that. But we're on the radar, I would say. Like we just got our athletic department. I just had a meeting with our assistant athletic department, or our assistant athletic director rather, and he gave us like full reins to use the licensed Jayhawk for our jersey, and so that was really good as a club and as an organization to actually get that reign, especially at a school that's UCKU. You obviously know how big the brand is when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to big name schools like KU, it's a lot harder for for the school to back the infrastructure, because like RMU, especially like CC, smaller schools, they're more willing to like put risk money into things like that in hopes that it can generate something. But I would say the fact that the assistant athletic director here was willing to give us that license and is recognizing esports as a thing in college that's up and coming is a good step forward. And there are plans for stuff at KU like LAN hubs that we can practice at, and et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, we're not anywhere near getting full funded, full staffed, like coaches that are considered a part of the university, but I don't think it's too far off. And I also think that how well we do in ULoL and other tournaments is a good way for us to market how valuable we are to the school. So my opinion my standpoint on that would be like the university's open to hearing things, and I think it's just up to us to take the initiative.
All right. I mean like you said, it's always a growing process with any sort of the collegiate atmosphere going on. It's still, it's still growing, and that's something that we always want to look for every year, improving things like that. So one thing about I'm actually going to shift topics a little bit, and this one is going to go over to Pawsu because obviously I know, again, you play games, you're an analyst. One of the things I did want to touch on real quick, and I was kind of hesitant because I didn't want to talk about too much in-game things, but there is a top ring guard that was brought out during one of your games, and I was just curious about that because, I mean, that is one thing about collegiate games is that they have niche picks, and it can really throw off an opponent, but top ring guard is a little bit risky, just based on what he can do in the jungle compared to on top lane. What is your opinion on that? Why do they do a top ring guard? Just clarify that, please.
All right. Before I answer this question, I want to immediately preface by saying that whenever we do play together, whether it be flex or just whatever, the team really likes to try strange things, and they also don't take their game seriously when their opponents don't deserve respect. And I know that sounds really bad, and that's not really like a mentality that you're supposed to play with, but that's just what they do, and we can't really stop them from doing that. They just like to have fun. So what happened with the top Rengar was actually a miscommunication. Our support said, hey, Rengar is up, let's pick it for our jungler. So he insta-locks first pick Rengar. And then our jungler said, I don't want to play Rengar, so we gave it to the top Rengar. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah.
All right, so there's really no analysis going into that.
There was no strategy behind that. That was just an accident.
Okay.
We just went with it.
So we probably won't be seeing any Rengar picks if you take on RMU or Maryville or anyone like that.
No.
Exactly.
At least in the top lane. All right. Well, that explains that one. So going in, what is your opinion on some of the teams that aren't highlighted as far as the teams that are not Robert Morris University? Or is there any teams that are not some of the big teams that you actually fear or you've been practicing against?
There's no team in the North region that there's no team in the North region that I think is a sleeper team or a team that could potentially take us down, other than the big name teams, CC, RMU, MU.
Right.
If I were to rank them in order, I'd say RMU is the scariest, CC second scariest, MU is third. But yeah.
All right, so Columbia College actually is making a lot of waves, because again, last year they just started building up their collegiate program. And similar to how you guys are doing right now, and you guys are going on to impress this year, and so far so good. Of course, hopefully we can see a little bit more of you in the playoffs. Is there any? I'm going to go and close this one out pretty soon. Are there any shout-outs you want to give? We'll start with you, Tiger. Are there any shout-outs you want to give, or any sort of things you want to say before we close out here?
Shout out to the KU team. Shout out to KU for being awesome and allowing this team to flourish and hopefully go somewhere. It just doesn't end here.
Of course. And anything for you, Julian?
Same shout outs as Tiger, and then shout out to the best Shen NA, Mr. Kyle, Mechanical Reaper.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, I'm gonna forewarn you: if you go back and watch this, the overlays are gonna be all sorts of wonky because Skype doesn't like me at all and doesn't like overlays. So things are switched, things are big. Sometimes they're good, a lot of times they're bad though, as far as the overlays are concerned. But the information and content is there. So thank you very much, Tiger. Thank you very much, Julian. Yep. And of course, Julian, I will see you in the CSL. You're a very talented writer for us. I'm very appreciative to have you aboard. So thank you again. And that's gonna be it's actually gonna be it for this week's edition of ULoL Weekly. My name is Joshua Pheqes Quest. You can still follow me on Twitter at Pheqes.com. Not Pheqes.com. Twitter.com/Pheqes, Pheqes. And we are hiring for a social manager in for CSL. So head on over to CSL. CStarleague.com, I should say, and email us your resume. May be able to get your foot in the door for esports if that is something that you are into. And other than that, I'm going to go and sign off. Thank you for joining me, and sorry again with the rough overlays. Very sorry about that one. We'll get that one worked out. Hopefully Skype won't screw with me next time. But again, thank you very much. Have a good night.